There is no Green Day, only Cool. The early years of Trey Cool. Before there was Trey Cool, there was Frank Edwin Wright III, who came onto this flat planet called Earth 616 on December 9th, 1972, at some specific time of day or night. But Frank Edwin Wright III was not born in Berkeley or Oakland like his future bandmates, or bad influences like they were. No! The newly birthed Frankie was birthed in East Germany, more specifically Frankfurt, Germany, presumably where everyone is named Frank with various numbers attached to their buttocks. Frank Edwin Wright Jr. had hitched a ride with Linda Wright, his wife, and created Frank III. Frank Jr., let's call him Trey Cool's dad from now on to avoid confusion, had a very interesting job. You see, Trey Cool's dad was a helicopter pilot during the Vietnam War. When he got back from active duty there with his daughter and bouncing boy and Linda Cool, Frank Jr., father of Trey Cool, decided it was time for a massive change. A change that would send shockwaves down the spine of one Raj Punjami. But that's a biography video for another network. Frank, Linda, Lori, and baby Trey moved to the mountains of Mendocino, California, a little burg known as Willits, California. Willits was not a prosperous town. No power, no running water, and the little boy that nobody called Frank. That was his life. Willits did have farms and ranches, which may paint the scene in your mind. But if you wanted a telephone, you'd basically have to make one yourself. Trey Cool had a school teacher by the name of Kathy Livingstone who knew him and his still cute class clown antics at the time. With the move from Germany to California, USA, Trey Cool's father began driving a truck for a living in the 80s. The Cool family isn't called the Cool family for nothing, because Trey Cool's dad, on more than one occasion, would have the Grateful Dead as living cargo in his truck, shipping them from show to show as an undercover chauffeur. Certainly an interesting environment for a little up-and-coming drummer boy. Very early on, Trey Cool began banging on trees, bicycles, stones, and whatever other makeshift drums that he could find. If your head was in front of his hands, God help you. God love you all. Even Trey Cool himself recalls a constant thumping of items, peoples, dogs, telephones made by hand, watches, motorized ding-dong holders. If it was thumpable, Trey Frankie Cool 3, whatever his name is, he was thumping it. Trey was incredibly intelligent early on, and the thumping was his way of releasing all of the pent-up knowledge and energy within him. He even knew like when his dad and family had a rough patch, or perhaps maybe something involving past times in Vietnam, it was better to go elsewhere, play the clown, entertain others, and work himself through his darker emotions that way. And that is the earliest moments we have of Trey Cool's life. Some neighbors had drum sets, and while Frank Jr. and Trey were relatively easygoing most of the time, when the darkness crept into their personality, smashing cymbals and making a joyous ruckus really helped to take the edge off things. When humans would try and stop Trey's persistent banging by trying to keep the cymbals far from his grasp, Trey Cool became a criminal, smashing through the walls of his local guitar center, stealing cymbals and saying, "Oh yeah!" Trey Cool was very good at something, the drums, and it comforted him, and it became his passion very early on in life. In the book, Nobody Likes You, Tré Cool himself quips, "What do you do if you're a kid and can only count to 4? What do you do if your kid can only count to 4? You buy him a drum kit and call him gifted." And actually, I'm quoting that book who was quoting the flip side from 1992. So thank you all around. Thank you, Tré Cool, and all you nice gals and everyone. I know you're mailing me a big old fat check for this sweet video right now. I know that you're all just sending the money this way. I will take it and crawl. Tré Cool was now geographically closer to his future Green Day bandmates, but we're not there yet. Don't skip ahead. I see you reaching for the button. Don't do it. You know the Green Day stuff. You know the Green Day stuff. You don't know all the creepy personal stuff about Tré Cool, so stay here. Like, what kind of socks was he wearing on Tuesday, April 15th, 1979? You know what I'm saying? You'll get that here. The Lookouts. Larry Livermore, the founder of Lookout Records, was a neighbor of the Cool family, and in 1985, Larry formed his band called The Lookouts with his girlfriend on drums, which ended disastrously, as you can imagine. And despite Larry Livermore pushing 40 and Tré Cool just beginning puberty, the situation worked for both parties to slide the 12-year-old Tré Cool right into the lineup of Larry Livermore, Kane Kong, and Trey Wright, who Larry christened, that's right, Trey Hot. Wait, Trey Lukewarm. Trey Cold. Am I getting warmer? Trey Warm. Long story short, this is a very long video. We could have had Anna Cool as the drummer of Green Day, and she would have been amazing. But that's on another Earth. Maybe a spherical planet would have something like that going on. Larry was faced with a trade-off in this situation. Trey was a fantastic drummer and performer, even a singer. But as I can vouch for the 38 to 40-year-old demographic, since I was born in the year of Bowling for Soup, 1985, it can be tough for a middle-aged person to spend a lot of time with a 12-year-old. And Larry was in a touring band with not just any 12-year-old, but a hyper, bonkers, ill-mannered, rowdy, troublemaking, bug-eyed lunatic of a one-eyed bastard who was letting that Tré Cool moniker go to his head. Larry and Kane, despite some of the adolescent drama, enjoyed their time with Tré Cool, the young Tré Cool. He balanced the insanity with a boyish charm and sense of humor to a point that you could almost forgive that he just, three stooged you in the eyeballs, making you the one-eyed bastard. What a guy. Tré Cool and Kane Kong were the rhythm twins of the Lookouts, and Trey was soaking up all the knowledge he could about being in a band, writing, singing, and performing. While Tré Cool's classmates, like one Zan Cannon, that's a cool name, were staying in school and being cool that way, Tré Cool was being cool in another way. He was just out and out, bashing his kit at all hours with his hometown, and even bordering Laytonville, simply not giving one flying fluck about all the noise. All the truckers, loggers, and ranchers were doing their thing, and all the hippies were too stoned to notice all the banging. Deep in the dilapidated hills of Mendocino, everyone was busy not giving a flucky snoo. We've all heard the trope about the small town with nothing to do, and Willits certainly fits that stereotype. There wasn't much to do other than ingest plant matter and make your days green, if you know what I mean. Just blaze, all you chickies and TV addicts. Don't mean to diss, don't mean to bring static. Trey filled his time with drum fills and debating whether to go to clown college. Beastie Boys. Trey was settling into the rock star life at 12 years old, making his days green, drinking some Steel Reserve, if that was a beer back then, and the Lookouts and its 3 moving parts hit the streets, pounding the pavements, and before he knew it, Trey Cool had been a professional drummer for 2 years. He was once a 12-year-old madman on the drums, and now he was a 14-year-old madman on the drums who could focus when he needed to and get down to business when he needed to. He had become the standout in a power trio. From the first shows at the little spot called the Grapevine Station to bigger and wilder shows where little prepubescent Trey Cool would sing songs like F Religion with his little kid voice, the Lookouts were not the most formal rock bands. It was irreverent, whacked out, and full of fist-pumping adrenaline for all involved. On the stage, down in the pits, out in the parking lot, hitting the spliff. Trey Cool was not getting the full 8 hours of sleep. What with the 23.5 hours of banging drums all day and partying every night. Every rock cliche you and I can think of. So Trey Cool snatched his GED and got out of the public school system just as soon as possible. After all, he had risen to class president, and after reaching such a level of high esteem, what else was there to do in high school, really? Ah, he would say, now I can sleep 15 minutes, get stoned for 15 minutes, and then rock and roll the rest of the time. My notes say show Kiss, but Gene Simmons, I can't say that name, Scene Jimmins wants $12,000 for me to show his image, and I don't have that kind of moolah. Leaving the Willits High School, Trey Cool sold Lookout cassettes to classmates like Mr. Cannon and Livingston, who purchased and is still possibly in possession of the $4 Lookout cassette. I wonder how much he would require from me to buy it from him. Because I'm poor. I'm a YouTuber in 2025. Ah! School was not too cool for cool. Also, because in this asylum, Trey would lose part of himself, a freak unicycle accident that would leave Trey Cool like your most gracious host here in the video, a uniballer. That's right, uniballer. Trey Cool recorded 2 full-length LPs and 2 EPs with the Lookouts, one on One Planet, One People. Trey Cool wrote The Mushroom is Exploding. On the 1989 Spy Rock Road, Trey Cool screamed into the microphone that girl is from outer space, and a song called Sunny Boy. Mendocinian Homeland showcased the soulful crooning of Trey Cool on the power ballad Judgment Day that should have been in T2 instead of Guns N' Roses. It was right there. Right there was a W. Ah! During Trey Cool's prison sentence in the Lookouts, Trey Cool was a busy drummer, utilizing reggae-infused beats and overcomplicating what should have been a straight punk rock piece of art. Legend has it, my spelling is atrocious, by the way. Legend has it that around this time, a young snoo came by and punched the nonsense out of Trey's head, softly. Gilman Street. Trey Cool was actually doing a lot more than partying and rocking out. He had integrated into the Bay Area scene, in particular, Gilman Street. Instead of learning English, math, and science, Trey Cool was now focusing on parties and shows and making himself known by taking the last ride in via tricycle, farting in people's Long Island iced teas, and trying to seem cool in front of that Sweet Children drummer who wasn't quite as old as Larry, but still kind of stinking old to be part of the Gilman Street punk rock scene. There was a lot of raised, chiseled chins, a respectful nod between scene dudes. Michael Pritchard and $2 Bill Yo were taking a bit of the spotlight away from Trey's wild man antics, and mostly by absolutely slaying on stage every freaking single night. Trey began to see John Kiffmeyer, a.k.a. Al Sobrante, Mike Dirnt, and Jilly Bo Legweek every night that he was at 924 Gilman Street. In a weird little twist of fate, Trey would sometimes help John with his fills, banging and drumming the stickery together. Late 1990 to 1995. And in 1990, hearts collided. John Kiffmeyer / Al Sobrante parted ways with Jilly Bo Legweek and Mike Dirnt, leaving the newly christened Green Day band with no drummer. Billy and Mike knew there was only one person matching their energy. Why have 2 class clowns in the band when you could have 3 class clowns, with one actually having some clown education under his clown belt? And yes, this time Trey Cool had been studying actual clown business. Small cars, big shoes, you know the gimmicks. From his hero, Wavy Gravy the Clown. Someone closely tied to the Woodstock festivals and hippie culture of days gone by. Who knows how Earth would have turned out had Trey become a clown instead of greening and joining the day. The Lookouts were drifting apart in 1990, only occasionally recording and doing sporadic shows. In one of those studio sessions, Jilly Bo Legweek came in to do vocals and guitars on 3 tracks on the Lookouts EP entitled 4. That was in July of 1990, and by November of 1990, Trey Cool stepped away from the Lookouts, who dissolved upon his departure. As the Lookouts were dissolving like a bad guy from RoboCop, but before Green Day's most well-known lineup had solidified, Trey Cool signed up for a community of clowns. I mean, a clown college, community college, but would quickly exit as he realized he would have to carry this Bill and Mike loser if they had any hope in hell of becoming a successful band. Absolutely nothing is known about Green Day band. This Green Day band that Trey Cool has joined, not one single shred of history is public knowledge. They live in shadows, and we may never know who are behind their masks. Wait, Green Day don't wear masks? What band am I thinking of that wears masks and rocks really hard with a Devo-esque inflection drizzled over their amplifiers, huh? That was probably the Rolling Stones or the Transplants, or maybe Uncle Cracker. Marc Spitz, Rolling Stone, Green Day Authority, GreenDay.fm, all these losers who Love is for, by the way, they will all vomit up all the information you could ever want to know about Green Day the band. And we're here to talk about the drummer, gosh poop it. Give the drummer some, like Travis Barker is wont to say, or get tattooed on his ankle. Seriously though, a huge thank you to Marc Spitz, Green Day Authority, GreenDay.fm. I could not have done this video without you. Also, Trey Cool, this video just wouldn't have made any sense at all if you hadn't been born. This video would get very few views. And that would make me sad. I guess we do have to talk a little bit about the Green Day band, but I'm going to focus on the non-Green Day stuff as much as possible. Jilly Bo Legweek and Mike Dirnt didn't immediately gel with Trey Cool, even considering disbanding instead of going out without Al Sobrante, who was now living life as his alter ego, John Kiffmeyer, full-time, and becoming a very civilized person in society. We do live in a society. So that's Trey Cool. That's very cool. Remember Frank Edwin Wright II, I guess we'll call him Dos Shell-Shocked, or Tré Cool's dad, and his wife Linda. Him and his wife Linda, they believed in Tré Cool's talent and wanted to do what they could to help this awful little band called Green Day. Frank number 2, or Tré Cool's dad, gave Tré Cool and his older, creepier friends a van, a bookmobile, if you will, to tour the hillbilly hills of California. Tré Cool's dad completely revamped the old bookmobile, customizing it for the express purpose of touring a 3-man rock band. Ever the supportive, if a little baffled father, he saw both sides of his son's dream, Tré Cool's dream, the wild partying and the serious business side of things that were taking shape amongst the trio of young men. In the lookouts, Tré had never learned to service the song with the drums. Instead, he was doing all this reverse cowgirl crazy stuff or whatever, making songs sound upside down and backwards. But with the new partner in crime, Mike Dirntey, Tré realized simpler is often better. A feature across all Green Day materials, the guitar, bass, drums, keys, they all follow the same path most of the time. So that when they don't, it hits yours and eyes in the feels. That's the part of the fancy secret sauce of Green Day. In 1991, Tré Cool, with his 2 unknown friends, to the Art of Ear studio to begin recording drums for what would become Kerplunk. The little pipsqueak lead singer would hog most of the writing credits, but Tré Cool managed to get one of his masterpieces on the album, stealing the microphone and guitar from the Jilly Bow Weirdo Incorporated, Weirdo, crafting what we now know today as Dominated Loof Slave, a country-tinged song that's kind of a throwback to the Lookout days that are no more days. They are days no more. Tré would support these weirdo tweakers in their Green Day fantasy, hitting the road with them and essentially never stopping. Green Day have played shows virtually non-stop from 87 to 90, and with a new one-testicle drummer on board, they could crank the touring up to 11 and a half. Did I mention I too am one-testicled? Between the wall-to-wall touring schedule, Tré and his new partners in crime would pack up their gear and go visit Tré's family, using their home as a practice pad to the newest batch of songs that elevated what the Power Trio had done on Kerplunk. I'm a righty. I don't know if Tré's a lefty or a righty. I'm not talking about hands. Between the wall-to-wall touring schedule, Tré Cool and his new partners in crime would pack up their gear and go visit Tré Cool's family, using their home as a practice pad for the newest batch of songs that would elevate what the Power Trio had done on Kerplunk. Kerplunk was running the Lookout label ragged and making everyone more money than they had ever seen. But these new jams Green Day were working on, they were timeless, hard-rocking, and bold in much the same way that Nirvana was bold on Nevermind. Tré's journey into Europe in 1992 with his bandmates was life-changing. The sights, the cameras, the action, and Frank Sr. watched with pride and chuckled a little bit. His boy, the lanky dude and the songwriter fellow, were really onto something big. All the partying, the drinking, the clown colleging, the unicycle accidents, had it all been building to this? Green Day, like most bands, was lead singer focused. But Tré kept his songwriting wiener sharp with tracks like Billy Joe's Mom, Food Around the Corner, which Tré didn't actually write. That one kept Elmer Fudd's wiener sharp. Shut the fuck up! Trey's inspirations is the next section of the video. Wait. Let me tell you something. We haven't talked about the most important thing when it comes to this sort of thing, and it's the music. We got to talk about the music. Or right now in this moment, what inspired Trey Cool? The drummers and the musicians that Trey Cool looked up to. And here we go. We got Ringo Starr of the Beatles, Aaron Comet Bus, he's back here, Dave Mello, Keith Moon, John Bonham, Charlie Watts, Mitch Mitchell, John Wright, Buddy Rich, Al Schlitz. And to do some time traveling in this video, Meg White from the White Stripes, or something like that, the Black Stripes, I don't know. Where were we? The Dookie is about to come out. That's where we were. Trey Cool's bank account is about to get stirred. This section of the video is called Green Day Crankage. Green Day, Dookie, lame-o boring crap. Let's get all up in the Trey Cool's grill. Yeah, he was playing guitar and drums and doing vocals and producing on that record, but this is Trey's personal journey. Okay, Dookie was a lifestyle change, and when the money piles up in a giant toilet all around your flat, all the squatters start coming around. Lisa Lyons, Lizzie Lyons was no squatter in Trey's flat. She was in his 3D, and perhaps his focus shifting is why on Insomniac, released in 1995, Trey wasn't doing any singing or guitar work, leaving it all to the crazed maniac Jilly Bo Legweek. Trey was winning the heart of Lisa Lyons, and shortly thereafter, Trey and Leslie had a child named Ramona Isabel Wright. Ladies and gentlemen, Ramona Cool. The relationship between Cool and Lyons cooled a bit. I don't have a lion joke for some reason. Divorce is sad, and we've got another one to talk about between the Warning and American Idiot album cycles, so no jokes, please. Despite going through the Big D and I don't mean Dallas, or other inappropriate things that start with D, Trey Cool and Lizzie remain cordial and co-parenting like bosses. So shout out to all the awesome parents out there that co-parent like bosses. You'd think that Trey Cool's story would have a lot of jail time and arrests. No offense, Trey Cool, but there's only one strike on his record, and that's for getting naked at the 1995 Green Day. But as Trey Cool recalls, the arrest was not for getting naked, but the cops were jealous of him. So that was 1995 for Trey Cool. This is 1996 to 1999. Ugh. 1996 was spent touring Insomniac and getting divorced and still being a parent to Ramona in the most rocking way possible. Opportunities were opening up from the success of Dookie, Insomniac, and Trey Cool did an acting gig on King of the Hill, playing a fine young cannibal named Crane Skrettenberg in 1997. More acting credits will ensue later in the video. Stay tuned, you drummer. What? Enthusiast pervert. I don't know what you drummer enthusiast in pervert. This Billy Armstrong guy, this Jilly Bo Legweek man, his dictator-like grasp over Green Day was ticking Trey Cool off. It was time for Trey Cool to bring the fire once again on this Nimrod album, and it was already feeling like a crazy double album. So Trey Cool began recording just drums and percussion. No. No, not just drums and percussion. He was adding the bongos, the tambourines, the percussionistic stuff. As construction progressed on the Nimrod, Trey and his two pals had little to do outside of recording, and idle hands of Trey, Billy, and Mike. The devil will jump in the El Camino and ride next to you when you have idle hands. Bored and in West Hollywood at the Sunset, Trey spent some of his time throwing televisions from his hotel room, really Keith Mooning up the place. Perhaps Winona Ryder, who Trey Cool was socially with around this time, stopped by the studio to throw some TVs off balconies with him. Throwing TVs is the ultimate form of flirtation amongst the West Hollywooders. Oh yeah. Come 1998, Green Day were attending award shows and ceremonies. Trey Cool was having the time of his life. I hope you had and climbing on balls. I mean, the Universal Globe at Universal Studios. As Green Day took home the award for Moon Man. That girl's from outer space! In 1999, absolutely nothing noteworthy happened to Trey Cool because he was busy protecting his remaining testicle from the Y2K apocalypse. Who writes this? He succeeded in protecting it, and thank goodness, because oh boy, did some Trey Cool stuff happen in the 2000s. Let me tell you that right now. Actually, Trey Cool did join forces with yet another band in 1999, playing drums for Sam Hain, who kind of sound like Foo Fighters and Green Day had a baby. In wedlock, of course. Shame on you, Dave. Shame, shame! The 2000s were finally here. Screw the 90s. We're in the 2000s, finally. Green Day put out a little record called Warning or whatever, and Trey Cool expanded his credits to include percussion, whatever that means, and accordion. Also, at some point in the past, like 1980, Trey Cool learned violin, so maybe that will come in handy one day. Probably not, though. Green Day are not impressed with his violin skills as of 2025. Trey Cool met a woman named Claudia Saraz, and they married. The second in a trilogy of marriages from the Little Drummer Boy. Trey and Claudia would become pregnant together. It's unclear on how that happens. Birth, complete mystery to humans. Forever and ever, amen. Frank Edwin Wright the Fourth was born from this, somehow. Woohoo! Sometime in 2001, A Space Odyssey, Trey Cool wrote a little ditty called Like a Rat Does Cheese about the pleasures of eating cheese. Yes, eating cheese like a rat do. Always seeking out activities away from Jilly Bow Legweek, the band tyrant, and Michael Pritchard, Trey jumped back into acting with the spot on Jackass Backyard Barbecue, the special, and he played himself. And that wisecrack about Billy the band tyrant, well, by this time Trey had been in Green Day a decade, and while Trey was the odd man out back in the 90s, Mike and Trey were getting some bad vibes from Jilly Bow Legweek. They all drank and partied, but Billy's bright light had turned into a flaming laser beam cyclops from the pit of hell. A one-eyed bastard. Fah! My name's Billy Joe, and I'm gonna unalive you. Stop. My name's Billy Joe, and I'm gonna unalive all you suckers for no reason. Frustrated with his Jilly Bow Legweek character, Cray Tool or Coo Trey disconnected and dislocated his leg on purpose and had to have major surgery to repair the damage, putting him out of commission for a full 6 months. There wasn't much Green Day action going on, but there wasn't no action, as Tré Cool had to hobble on crutches to accept a whopping 4 California Music Awards, which is pretty great. There's a crap ton of musicians out there, so if you win a California Music Award, that's pretty impressive. Cuatro, cuantos, cuatro. See. 2003 was an absolute roller coaster for Tré Cool, who had always kept his, what's the word? Composure? Coldness? He had always kept his, I don't know. But Green Day, his kind of okay day job in Green Day, it felt like it was about to implode or explode. With his second marriage falling apart as well, Tré put himself to work, wrapped himself up in it, and probably overbooked it a bit in 2003, appearing in the concert/film Riding in Vans with Boys, which documented the awkward dual billing with Blink-182, who had taken what Green Day had created and made it more poppy and more accessible. There were some frustrations from both bands on the tour. Through the turmoil of 2003, Tré Cool and his bandmates, they all needed a change. Billy had written an album called Figs and Candy Hearts or something, and the label straight up told him it sucks. It needed more Tré Cool songs. It needed more Tré Cool accordion. It just was lacking anything that made a rock record great in the early 2000s. It needed Mike's noseless and traveling through time using ink squid or squid ink. What is ink squid? Anything but a seventh slog of rehashed Green Day material. Oh, it was awful. Jilly Bo did not know what he was doing. They did not film this process like Metallica did, but Tré Cool and his friends Billy and Mikey, they had band therapy. They sat down and talked like adults for the first time in their lives, and Billy agreed that the band dynamic needed a jolt, a shift. Green Day could no longer just put out a seventh album ever again. Never again could they simply make a record. It had to be important, had to be different, had to be challenging. In one take simply isn't enough to catch lightning in a bottle with that kind of power. There had to be multiple options, multiple choice. Billy always wrote darn near everything for Green Day, and Tré and Mike, they had song ideas at the ready. In the long road that finally turned off onto the boulevard of broken dreams, the American Idiot album, Green Day recorded multiple projects, albums, jingles, noises, all steps in creating a punk rock opera masterpiece. And we may never hear the Stepping Stone albums. It's not like they released them under a different band name or anything. Tré Cool didn't write and sing lead vocals on a song called Hungry Hungry Models. That song was written and performed by the Snoo of the Network fame, who in his downtown, lights will be shining. No, the Snoo in his downtime runs a ladybug farm and does ballet in his homeland of Argentina. You gotta buy those. That's what I'm saying. You gotta buy those. Don't ever open one of these. Dear God. While the Snoo was finding catharsis and validation from his tyrant Fink, the same catharsis came over Tré and Mike in Green Day as they wrote songs together with Jilly Bo Legweek, experimenting, caroling, listening to Devo and Bruce Springsteen, and learning to love again. As work began proper on Green Day number 7, Tré Cool was preoccupied with completing his second divorce, which ultimately would lead to the creation of American Idiot and its rock opera format. Mike is like me. the early bird of the group, and was at the ready to finally turn in a masterful performance. And there was no lead singer, no drummer. Nobody likes Mike. They're out without Mike having fun. Actually, Billy Joe was in court over a let's get drunk and go out driving incident, and Tré Cool was dealing with his own lawyers. No doubt about how much Green Day money wife number 2 would end up with. And Frankie Forter, who is the important part. When Trey heard Mike's insane ramblings and insecure screaming about he and Billy Joe abandoning him, which you can now hear in the demos of American Idiot, Trey was overjoyed. He was not the other thing, the R word. Finally, something other than Billy Joe whining about everything and nothing all at once was in a Green Day song, on the record. It was brilliant, it was hooish, and Tré Cool is the Keith Moon of the modern day, of course. Trey had sang some of the stuff, DUI, which was cut, not Hungry Hungry Models, but other stuff, all of which had been cut. And this was Tré Cool's chance. Billy really liked what Mike had done. And soon enough, all three of them were adding parts, operatic sections, synthesizers. It was mind-blowing. Green Day had joked about recording a rock opera before, during the Nimrod days, but now was the time. With all the courtroom drama seemingly having a big impact on the art, it felt like the right time to make something like this the part of a Green Day album. Fart. Thus, Rock and Roll Girlfriend was born, and the titular girlfriend, one Tori Castellanetto, drummer of the Donnas. She is the rock and roll girlfriend in question. 2005 was a whirlwind of American Idiot fever. I got a fever tonight, with Trey and gang amping up shows and dressing in all red and black. Trey and Mike were getting to show off their parts of Homecoming to audiences everywhere. And it was exhausting and exhilarating at the same time. The rage, the love. The American Idiot Massacre slowed down ever so slightly in 2006, but Tré Cool was full of nervous, pent-up energy and was glad to donate his vocal cords, like Lady Cobra, to the extremely perverted, do not watch with your family under ever any circumstances, Live Freaky, Die Freaky, the film. Tré Cool plays the maid, not the mermaids, which we'll get in a few years. We're getting there. But I am telling you, do not ever watch Live Freaky, Die Freaky with your mom and dad. With anyone. Ever. Watch it by yourself. Be super weird with it. It'll be fine. Just never, ever, ever watch it with your parents. Please, God, do not do that. Also, Tuesday, February 35th, Tré Cool farted in the direction of his sister, Lori Moore, and she was slightly amused. American Idiot had worked because it was the result of many failures, experiments, and risks, and so Trey and the gang began the same process to overcome the daunting task, how to do it again. Playing with different musicians, recording in different styles, and during this time, Tré Cool uploaded a very cool cover of Tay Zonde's Chocolate Rain. The original is a unique classic for the ages, and Trey's version built a tent and something in the sink. Get your cute ass to the gay parade. Indeed. Chocolate Rain. Oh yeah. And as Trey finished his rain of chocolate, he dropped the line, "You're doing it bleeping wrong," which shows up in the song Highway 1 by the Foxborough Hot Tubs. and that claims to be Green Day. But like the network, I know that the Foxborough Hot Tubs, they're liars. They're not Green Day. The drum playing man in the Foxborough Hot Tubs is the professor, not Trey Cool, not the snoo, the professor. All these shenanigans taking place in 2007, and yet Trey Cool found the time to play with himself. I mean, play himself in the Simpsons movie. Gasping about the Green Day barge. I am working tirelessly to find the real Green Day barge, but have yet to collect enough evidence. Despite going down to the barge in the movie, I am told animated Trey Cool is alive and well and living in Barcelona as the professor. Trey Cool would do drums, percussion, and backing vocals on the Foxborough Hot Tubs album, an exercise that would excise the demons of Jilly Bow Leg Week just long enough to get a proper idea of what Green Day Volume 8 would sound like. And while Trey Cool wouldn't provide his sweet, sweet voice on 21st Century Breakdown, his drum and percussed is just all over that thing, Hawk Tuah. Time traveling, going backwards a little bit, sync like Blink, just a little wee bit. Trey also chopped and chewed another bit of scenery in an acting gig on the documentary Heart Like a Hand Grenade, where he and the gang do some really tasteful nude scenes and all sorts of other artsy-fartsy things like farting. Yeah, this is all going to be voiceover. I'm not even trying. Not even trying, man. 2009 would be a lucrative year for Trey Cool, embarking on a massive tour with Green Day to pulverize the masses with heroes and cons. Trey's personal favorite track off 21st Century Breakdown is the title track, which Trey calls the most epic Green Day song yet. In looking through this lens of future Green Day releases, I imagine Forever Now might be one of the tops. One of the top Green Day songs in Trey Cool's mind. Although Trey Cool has yet to respond to my inquiry, probably because I haven't really sent it to him. I just said that for this video to waste your time. The 2010s. 2010. Trey Cool had done a lot, but until 2010, he had never been in a video game. Green Day Rock Band changed that, putting his Keith Moonism butt cheeks firmly in your hand on platforms such as 3, Wii, and 360. Yeah. In 2011, in 2011, Trey Cool provided drums and backing vocals to a live Green Day album for some reason. Everything was going off without a hitch. Be it hitching a ride or heaven and hell, all good things, as the saying goes. TikTok and taxes. Trey was in a band with an alcoholic, and if Trey had any other personality, he'd have felt bad for writing DUI as a joke song. Trey's singer friend was spiraling, but the massive boost to their bank accounts and celebrity after the Idiot days, the Green Day machine could stop for no man, no God, no French Poodle, American Idiot, 21st Century Breakdown, and they needed a way to continue the momentum. Topping American Idiot had them creating multiple bands to break the mold. And so did 21st Century Breakdown. What could possibly follow up the run of Money Money 2020? Wait, the American Idiot, Foxborough Hot Tubs, Breakdown. That's a magical run. Not to mention the dozens of dead albums buried under the ground. to give birth to those records. Trey and his gang, the last gang in town, best thing in town. They couldn't go through all that again. Billy was looking a little bug-eyed and tattered, scattered even, smothered, covered, and chunked, but still writing songs like he was standing on the edge of the world, and it was really freaking him out. Some were a return to power pop, like a power pop dookie sound. Some were like the Foxborough Hot Tubs. Hey, Billy was doing that without the six-piece band. Weird Incorporated or unincorporated. Weirdo. But Billy kept writing. In fact, you could think of the trilogy that way. Instead of making albums and throwing them away, Green Day released the steps to getting to the new Green Day sound found on their 11th studio album. And yes, we got to talk about that one. It's called Trey. Trey's lead singer pal had to stop the Green Day train. The little boy named Trey. We're talking about the little boy named Trey, not train today. Jilly Bo's flying off the fancy sauce rehab to sit around and feel like a lab rat. There's a lot of information to talk about that out there. There's more than enough of that out there. So let's focus on the album Trey. Trey is the 2012 sound of Green Day, the true follow-up to 21st Century Breakdown. Trey did some vocals on Uno, but on this one, he's focusing all his energy on the bangy, bangy, boingy things, the drums. Green Day had to tweak the release of this album a bit with all that tweaking going on behind the scenes and all. And it ended up coming up just before Trey Cool's 40th birthday. Oh my. Also, there's that really strange picture of Trey Cool on the back. Remember Uno that had some guy that kind of looked like Billy Joe, but not really? And then Mike Dirnt turned into Lady Cobra on Dose. Trey's back cover image features him breaking a mirror, possibly a loving nod to Keith Moon and his band of random dudes called The Who? Trey Cool began acting a fool again as himself in Quattro, part of the trilogy promotion that kind of all fell to the wayside as Jilly Bo Legweek sorted out his dilemmas. Trey Cool had been divorced from Claudia for 11 years, and that's a reasonable enough time to give things a third go, I think. Everyone dies in threes, you know. Trey Cool married the love of his life, Sarah Rose Lippert. In that same year, 2014, LA Weekly named Trey Cool number 2 of the top 5 punk drummers of all time, which is the important thing. That gave Frank Edwin Wright III, we haven't said that full name for a while, it gave Frankie the gusto and a puffy enough chest to work out some other... to work with some more talented musicians than that Billy and Mike gang of losers. But like the network and the Foxborough Hot Tubs, Dead Mermaids are a third or a tres example of not having Trey Cool as a drummer. That's right, with a W. Bjorn Rourkeson, who, like the Snoo or the Professor, has a completely different set of tattoos than Trey Cool, I think. What the hell kind of instruments are those? It's a red thing. Trey Cool formed this Icelandic death metal band with David Horn, or Magnus Magnusson on guitar, Strever Rapp or Gimmer Gimmerson on bass, Christopher Sean or Nagalj Dawson on drums, releasing a split EP with Coral Fangs. Bjorn, sings and plays drums on the songs Vindigler and My Fish. It's A1 and A2, respectively. In 2015, Trey Cool and his little buddies, that he let ride his coattails, the Green Day band. They were inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I hope that one day they get inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. Yeehaw. For Tré Cool's contribution to this country of ours. 2016, Tré Cool reconvenes with Billy and Mike to produce Revolution Radio, and somehow couldn't get a single Tré Cool song to appear on the album. Hello! His singing is what shot Dookie and American Idiot into the stratosphere, yet Revolution Radio and no Tré Cool song. No handsome talent! In 2017, did you know in 2033, it will be time for a third greatest hits album, and it's going to be stacked. Hopefully all the hits from the future Green Day albums will be sung by Bjorn Rourkeson. Hark me mighty, oh yeah, oh yeah. Tré Cool is featured on the 2017 Greatest Hits collection with the new song, Back in the USA. In 2018, we get more Dead Mermaids. The band Dead Mermaids reformed, adding Christopher Sean on drums, which allowed Trey to focus on his lead screamer engine, pooping and stuff. Everybody knows that singing drummers sound awful live, so that was the reason for that. The band would put out a 5-song extended play poopy called You're Welcome, and make their first poopy live pop-up at Sammy Hagar's High Tide Beach Party. Side note on this side project, if you search them on Spotify, there's another band called Dead Mermaids. It is not Tré Cool's band, but they are pretty good too. Way to go, Dead Mermaids. Teach me. Mickey Otis Wright, born in 2018, was Sarah Rose Liphart, who Trey married in 2014. Boo Boo and the Brood in 2018 as well. Tré Cool sold his Newport Beach house for $1.8 million and 13 cents and a nickel. And another bundle of joy, Mickey Otis Wright, possibly named after the serial killer in Scream 2. I guess I should have screamed spoilers before I said that, but it's fine. It wasn't Derek, it was Mickey and Billy's mother. Billy Joe's mom. Okay, 2018 is jam-packed with Tré Cool action, all of which I totally did not get from Wikipedia. What is Wikipedia? I've never heard of it. Tré Cool is featured in Fred Armisen's Stand Up for Drummers, which is a Netflix special, as himself. I don't think you guys are ready for all the 2018 stuff Trey has going on. He's actually formed yet another band in 2018, not a professor or a snowman, but as himself. This is officially a Tré Cool band in Boo Boo and the Brood. His bandmates, Sarah Rose Wright on vocals, Justin Norman on guitar, and Leah Lee on bass. Sarah Rose Wright of One Less Zero infamy sings in this band with Tré Cool on drums and percussion. Other nameless ghouls include people named Justin Norman, Lynn Lee from Bad Cop on bass. And this Boo Boo and the Brood are also not on Spotify, but are on the Boogeyman and the Tale of the Black Widow label and performed live for the first time at the Women of Horror show put on by a radio station called K-Rock Poop Radio. Shout out to Green Day FM and Green Day Authority, because I am paraphrasing and inserting the word poop in as much as I can when possible. But those are such massive sources for this kind of nerdy Green Day stuff, and I really, really love those websites. So keep it up. Keep them up forever. I'll donate some money every now and then. Interesting Boo Boo and the Brood factoid. Justin Norman, while playing some massive albums from big names, Seems kind of like a private citizen compared to the rest of his bandmates in Boo Boo and the Brood. While I'm blasting some of Sarah's band now, One Less Zero, it might take me a while to get around to ranking those albums by Norman. But keep on rocking, brother. I love you. I love Boo Boo and the Brood. You guys are way better than Green Day. They suck. In 2019, Tré Cool farted on Mike Dirnt's 102-acre cannabis farm. And if you want a fart-affected puff, it will cost you. Tré times the OG flavor. Tré also tipped some pigs, possibly Plopper from the Simpsons movie. During 2019, Tré Cool did some walking in places. He blinked 182 times and slept at various points throughout the year, sometimes at night. I'm sure he kissed his wife too in 2019 and wore socks and Chuck Taylors right now. Manipulated entities. Living in the 20s. We are now in the 2020s. During early 2020, Cool sat in with Willie Nelson and his band after the death of Nelson's friend and drummer, Paul English, before getting back to his boring old day job at Green Day Incorporated, writing and recording Father of All, ... For the FOA album, Tré Cool primarily uses an SJC maple kit and a Ludwig supraphonic snare drum, which he calls F-150. I'm going to put on the screen a more detailed drum breakdown because I know you guys are like some crazed drum lunatics watching this. Oh! All that information should make you fall in love with Father of All, and if it doesn't, you're a drumming dummy. You're an American drummy. Oh yeah! The world stopped turning in 2020, and Father of All, much like the trilogy, did not get the support that it deserved. Remember that network band that Tré Cool had nothing to do with? Well, those jerk geniuses returned in 2021, presumably to steal what was supposed to be Green Day's 14th album, maybe that 1972 thing, and to fulfill the prophecy. It's a whole thing that Tré Cool has nothing to do with. Let's get specific about it in this Tré Cool video, though. On Money Money 2020 Part 2, we told you so. Tré Cool does not sing lead vocals on any of the following songs. These are all sung by the Snoo. Asphyxia, Flat Earth, Respirator, Squatter, That's How They Get You, The Stranger, Hey Elon. But wait, there's more. Tré Snoo, they wrote an instrumental called We're Not Even Allowed to Speak because pineapples on pizza? I don't know. You can't say the name of it on YouTube. The network's lead singer, Van Gogh, perhaps found something in his time travels that, like the Grinch, allowed his heart like a hand grenade to grow 3 sizes. Van Gogh's on meth. And needed others to sing lead vocals more so he could do more and get more meth. This results in Fink and Snoo getting more microphone time. It's sort of parallel to what was going on like when Tré Cool would grab the mic from Jilly Bow Leg Week. And allowing the Snoo to write and get some ink time. Ooh, that sexy ink time. Ink all over your body. There's Elon references, which let's not even get into because he's all anyone can talk about in 2025. And it's really annoying. Coma City. Bankruptcy coming to Coca-Cola execution. So none of that has anything to do with Tré Cool. I don't know why it's in this video. If I could cut it out, I would, but I can't because Z's over here, and he will hurt me during our piano lessons. I'm not kidding. I paid way too much for piano lessons from this lovely gentleman over here. Tré Cool 2021. In 2021, Tré Cool primarily used an SJC maple drum kit with a custom leopard skin graphic finish. Here's a more detailed breakdown of his gear. Drum nerds, pow! Making your head explode, Spinal Tap style. Speaking of drum nerds, in 2022, Tré Cool played with himself once again in Let There Be Drums, a film. He played himself. By 2023, Green Day had replaced the stolen album that they tried to record for album 14 with a new one. Yay. And Tré and the gang, the last gang in town, announced the release of The American Dream Is Killing Me and its album mama, Saviors. 2024, we're getting almost caught up with the complete life of Tré Cool. We all get a little jealous sometimes, and with Chili Bow Leg Week and Mike Doodoo making that sweet, sweet, savory coffee money, Tré wanted in on the action. Billy is worth $100 million and 2 cents, and Mike is worth $60 million and 25 cents. But poor little Tré, poor little starving Tré, always not singing and not writing lyrics. He's just dirty, rotten bastard poor with only $55 million and 3 cents in the bank. And I hear he lost those 3 pennies. And with Billy and Mike, we're out making a fortune of that coffee money without him. Oakland coffee. Tré dressed up as a stinky, drunken bunny rabbit straight out of Donnie Darko and held them at evil bunny drunken gunpoint until they relented, giving him equal shares in the coffee industry, just like Tré had planned back on the day that he was born, before the plane crashed. The drunken bunny is rumored to be Tré, but at Green Day shows, it's mostly one of the crew or stagehands or random rappers. Tré Cool is not the drunk bunny or the snoo or the professor or King Underpants. He's just not. Tré Cool is alive in the year 2025, getting back into the evil city of Hollywood with a new film project called New Year's Rev, and of course, dragging Billy and Mike around his ever-growing coattails, rocking countries all over the world. Actually, we do have some Tré Cool news hot off the press. He's playing drums on an as-yet unredacted song on the new Devil May Cry soundtrack, which it's redacted. It could be American Idiot. It could be an April Fool's joke. We don't know where this thing is. Looking to the future of Tré Cool, 2026, when he will secretly convene with Mike and Bill and yell at them to write some freaky songs. Freaking songs. All the way to the year Omega 3000, when Tré Cool will still be alive and maybe, finally, really get to be a clown. This has been the story of Frank Edwin Wright III, a.k.a. Tré Cool. But you can call him Tré. And now, here's 21 hits. 21 facts that didn't quite make it into the main portion of this video, and yet here they are in the video. He's got blue eyes, brown hair. He's 5'6" with his left nipple pierced. Tré Cool has an unusually strong chin. It can do chin push-ups. Tenacious D reference. Tré Cool is jerky in the physical sense, not like an Angel and the Jerk kind of way. Tré is known for his sharp drum beats. Tré Cool plays bass guitar, but made a vow to never touch a bass guitar again. It's a kind of a thing with him and Mike. Very nasty. Might destroy Green Day. They probably won't survive until 2026. Tré Cool dressed up as Benji Madden, a Good Charlotte, in Halloween 2004. His nickname is King Underpants, but not Captain Underpants. Captain Underpants is Morgan Freeman and Rosie O'Donnell's love child, Smith of London Poughkeepsie. Tré's tattoos. On his right arm, he has East Bay Mafia, a defenestrated TV, EBPM. Notice the stark difference between the snooze right arm, lament configurations like this, Chinese finger traps, and the face of the Tiger King himself, meaning that they cannot be the same person. Tré's tats on his left arm is a little girl holding a red balloon. It's like a Banksy style tattoo. On the snooze left arm is a Simpson tattoo with blue balloons. Completely different. Two totally different people. Tré's leg tats. Forget his leg tats. We need to see that giant Mike Dirt on his buttocks. Now that's the one that indeed does match the snoo, and I can confirm that one. They both have a big Mike Dirt portrait on their buttocks. Tré Cool is bisexual and has dated Jilly Bo Legweek, but ended it as neither of them had time for it, being in a rock band and all. Slingerland drums, dummy. Tré is a shoe aficionado with themed chucks like Green Day, Uno, and Kiss Me I'm Punk. That's 4. Tré Cool dressed up like a punk rock. Tré really likes to dress up as his punk rock brethren, copying Matt Skiba's Priest look in addition to Ben Madden's look in 2006. The Golden Girls really do it for Tré Cool. Tré once caught a shark and had to battle it with the baseball bat, possibly the same baseball bat that Mike uses to record on Shenanigans. Tré Cool warms up by listening to jazz music before running onto the stage, not being the drunk bunny stuff. So Tré Cool is listening to jazz and warming up while the singer guy would consume tree-3 alcohol and the bassist practices bass? Ooh, what's wrong with Mike? What the balakite is wrong with that guy? Nobody likes him. Everyone left him. They're all out without Mike, eating yellow snow. Like Cold's drummer, that's a very obscure band, Tré Cool likes to paint plates. Tré has a female cousin named Bex. Tré Cool is a huge Beatles fan and possibly stalking Ringo Starr at 7:58 p.m. May 15th, 2025. Absolutely ridiculous. Tré Cool does not enjoy the music of Hall & Oates, Cyndi Lauper, or Martha Quinn, and has went out of his way to insult them in the past.